Hello, welcome to Gardener's World. I know that there's masses to do to get the garden ready for summer, but now we're in April, I have to remind myself to stop. This is spring. It's here and now. Enjoy every second of it. This week, I'm continuing the rejuvenation of the dual garden by adding shrubs for intense flower and foliage colour. And now the soil is warming up, I can start to sow and plant some veg. Carol visits Mount Edgecombe, which is one of the best gardens in the country for camellias.
I don't suppose anybody realises, do they, when they bring home this little plant, that it could grow into something as vast as this.
Rachel goes behind the scenes at RHS Wisley to inspect a rather mysterious brew.
So this must be the hub of the operation.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah. It's getting a bit potent now.
Oh my goodness.
At this stage of the season, the spring garden goes into a new phase. Throughout February and March, it's really carrying us through winter with the snowdrops and the aconites and the crocuses. And they're lovely, but they're little beacons of hope. Now it's beefing up and there's a new wave of plants coming through. So for example, the snowdrops are gone, but the snowflake is here. And you can see that's coming through. Lovely. But the dominant flower are hellebores. Although most of the hellebores in the spring garden are oriental hybrids, and they have hybridized with each other to make a slightly muddy pink, but the overall effect is still lovely. But even though the massed effect is really good, it doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't notice the tiny details. For example, this hellebore, which from the top is white and quite pretty, but if you lift it up like that, it's got these lovely speckles inside. Right next to it, these snake's head fritillaries. And the combination, I'd love to take credit for, but the truth is it's a happy accident, that the colours of this and the colour of the fritillaries perfectly blend in. And these plants, the fritillary and the hellebore, they like this rich, wet soil. So they're perfect in every way as partners together. This is the dual garden, and it's a formal space, practically square, 4 big beds edged with box, all very geometrical and symmetrical. But the idea behind it is to have a kind of riotous anarchy of colour within an enclosed context, like a box of jewels spilling over onto a table. And that's what we've tried to achieve over the last 14 years since we first started planting it. And it's a process that's ongoing. You buy plants that you like, that you think fit a colour scheme, add to them, change, divide. The whole thing is changing almost from day to day, as well as, of course, from season to season. But this last year, we did a dramatic change here.
Last autumn, we decided to bite the bullet and tackle the growing bindweed problem in the dual garden. All the plants were lifted, the roots scrupulously cleaned, and the beds were thoroughly weeded. Gradually, we're now starting to replant. Today, I'm adding some shrubs, and these will give the beds height and structure, as well as providing individual colour of leaf and flower.
Now, I've got a foliage plant here. It's Cotinus royal purple, and I'm growing it because it's got the most wonderful, intense colour. And the reason why purple foliage works so well in the dual garden is that as a backdrop, it makes bright colours look brighter. Plants shine out against that purple backdrop. So it's very useful. So that's the good thing. The difficult thing is that we find they struggle to get established. And because our soil is so rich, other plants that are lusty, annuals, herbaceous plants, tend to shade them out and simply just block the light from the leaves. So as a rule of thumb, I would say always plant purple foliage plants in full sun. So what I'll have to do is make sure the plants around it don't give it a hard time and don't shade it out. Although these borders cover a big area by any standards, in fact they're so organised that nothing is very far away from a path. So for example, I'm now as far away from a path as I can be, and yet I'm, what, a metre or so from there and 2 metres from there. And it's a good idea if you want to make a big border, is don't necessarily put it backing on to a wall or a hedge. It can be accessible from all sides. That gives you the sense of space, but you can smell them and you can see them and touch most of them too. Now what I'm putting in here is another shrub, but instead of one that uses foliage for its effect, this is all about flowers. This is Buddleja Black Knight, really rich purple. It comes from the shaly slopes of the Himalayas, and the seeds are spread by wind, which is why you see it by railways and up on roofs and chimney pots, because it loves lime, so it goes in the mortar of buildings. It's a plant that gets in exactly where it wants to be. And of course these enormous flowers of a really rich, deep purple. Now, Buddleja flowers are produced on new growth. So this one can be pruned back hard the minute I've got it in the ground. And the time to prune Buddleja is February or March. And that will give you good flowers from July, but it doesn't matter if you don't prune it till April. They just won't flower till later in the summer. But they certainly will grow almost anywhere. Right, that will grow back and give me the best possible flowers. Now Buddlejas are very happy in lime, but some plants really can't abide it. Ericaceous plants, and one of the key ones are there, the Camellias. And at this time of year, they're very best if they have the right soil conditions. And Carol has gone along to Mount Edgecombe, where the soil is perfect for Camellias.
Mount Edgecombe Estate is just across the river from Plymouth, where the Tamar meets the sea. There are so many camellias thriving in its grounds that the park has been recognised by the International Camellia Society as a Garden of Excellence. Only 16 other gardens in the entire world share that accolade. Well, most of our gardens are just getting going, but here's one plant that's at its absolute peak right now. Not only has it got gorgeous glossy foliage glistening out and announcing the spring, but the whole things are covered with these most exuberant and glamorous of flowers in every shade of pink and white and all manner of forms. It's just lovely. Spring's arrived. There are literally thousands of different camellias, but as far as we gardeners are concerned, they fall into two main groups. On the one hand, there are the japonicas, on the other hand, the Williamsii. Now, the advantage of japonicas is that they have the widest range of colour and of different cultivars, but they're not tremendously hardy, so they're most suitable to be grown in the south of the country. But as far as the Williamsii go, they can be grown practically anywhere. The foliage stays glossy and gorgeous even in severe weather, and what beautiful flowers they are too. Lee Stenning has been tending the camellias here for 19 years. What, more camellias?
You can never have enough camellias.
Well, there's a really fine collection here, Lee, isn't there?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a lot of work over the years.
The conditions must be absolutely perfect for them.
We are very fortunate. We've got a good acid soil at 5.5.
Wow.
We have lots and lots of sunlight and lots of rain.
So one more camellia. How many have you got now?
We now have 1,000 cultivars in the collection.
Right, and how many to go?
Worldwide, there's another 36,000 to collect.
Is that all? You must find yourself getting obsessed by camellias, don't you
I
think?
suppose obsession would be one word to put it. There are so many different types, and we're always on the lookout for new, different forms and varieties. So we're very fortunate to be where we are today. And actually, talking about different forms, this is a very unusual camellia. And this camellia is called CF Coates, and it's a fishtail camellia.
Right, it looks quite straightforward, but it's the foliage, isn't it?
That is,
it's not the flowers that are different. Look at that, it's fascinating. With this extra sort of little leaf at the end. It's beautiful, I've never seen anything like it. I don't suppose anybody realises, do they, when they bring home this little plant, that it could grow into something as vast as this.
No, and what people have realised how big they become. A lady a few years ago, I had a phone call, she said, I've planted 2 camellias outside my house. I can now no longer get into my front door and I have no light in my window. So just be aware what you're buying and how big eventually they become.
Fortunately, they can be given a good short back and sides every once in a while.
Right, as you can see from the shape, it's actually become very dangling. So what I'm after is that nice, even shape until we can take, you mustn't be afraid of camellias. You can really reduce them.
Yeah.
You can take a really mature camellia down to 2/3, and people are scared, and you mustn't be scared with pruning. So this is where I'm going to cut just above a node.
Right, that's the place where the leaf or the new shoot actually emerges.
That's right.
Yeah. On here. Like
Lovely.
that.
Perfect.
Comme ça. Well, I'm enjoying this. So this is just the right time to prune it, when it's finished flowering and when it's got this sort of dormant period before you get this flush of new growth.
You've got to remember once you start to prune that it can affect flowering the following year.
Yes, but it's worth it, isn't it? Because the year after it's going to have belting flowers, isn't it?
Masses and masses of flowers, that's all right.
I'm coming back to have a look. The camellias at Mount Edgecombe Country Park are looking better than ever. But if you can't get to Cornwall, there are plenty of other camellia displays to enjoy around the country over the coming weeks. The garden at East Burgholt Place in Suffolk has a stunning collection, whilst Renishaw Hall near Sheffield has an impressive woodland camellia walk. And those at Exbury Gardens in Hampshire are looking fantastic too.
Have a look at this, because I only noticed it yesterday. We've got primroses in the copse, and then there are cowslips along the edge. And moving to this bit of woodland, they hybridise and we get false oxlips. And this popped up yesterday, only came into flower. And look at the colour on that. That's amazing. Now what's really extraordinary to me is I know for a fact we've only planted yellow primroses and yellow cowslips. And that colour has come from some parentage way back. See, that's a normal one. That's what I'd expect to see. But it's thrown up that. That's a gift.
Don't forget your shovel if you want to go to work. Oh, don't forget your shovel if you want to go to work. Oh, don't forget your shovel if you want to go to work. Or you'll end up where you came from like the rest of us. So, digging, 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 del-da-dee-da-da.
This is our top veg plot. And the idea is to keep this as a contained vegetable garden, that we'll grow all the vegetables we possibly can so that you can have a supply of delicious vegetables right throughout the year on a plot this size. And I'll tell you what, you can grow an awful lot in here. So we've got 4 beds. This one, which starts off with legumes and alliums. This one is going to be for potatoes and other roots. This one here for brassica. And this one for root crops, particularly carrots, parsnips, and then I will interfill and dot around lettuce and salad crops and things like sweet corn as and when space comes up. Now, the job in hand is to get my new potatoes in. Now, potatoes were traditionally planted round about Easter, but Easter's late this year. So it's worth getting them in as soon as you can, particularly if you're planting earlies. And although potatoes will grow almost anywhere, it's a good idea to rake the soil off so you can work it, and so that it feels nice to handle. And there's a tip about planting anything, is if the soil feels cold, then nothing will grow. In fact, the old farmers used to take their braces off, drop their breeches and sit on the soil with their bare backsides, and if that felt cold, then they didn't plant. I shall restrict myself to my hand, for your sake, if not just for mine. Right, that's fine, that's warm and that's prepared. And there's no magic about planting potatoes, but I just worked out a system that works well for me, and so I can recommend it. And I use a mattock. If you get hold of one of these tools, they're fantastic. And I just draw a trench along the line of the board like this, and then at the end just chop it back. Now, the distance apart of rows for potatoes, what you've got to think of is partly the growing distance, but also they've got to be earthed up. So you've got to have room to get in and draw the soil up on either side. With new potatoes, they can be closer than for main crop, but really 3 foot. Go much less than 3 foot and you're in, a lot of cramping goes on. So draw that through. And the beauty of a mattock is you can work sideways or straight on. And potatoes will clean the soil up. So if it's a bit stony or a bit weedy or a bit heavy, don't worry. Potatoes are ideal for sorting out a rough piece of ground. Now along the bottom of the trench, I'm going to put some compost. This is garden compost, and I'm just going to sprinkle it along. You don't need a lot. This is to give them a kick start. Right, I've got 2 varieties of potatoes. We've got Red Duke of York, which is a first early, and we want that to be ready for harvesting around about the time of my birthday, which is the beginning of July. And this is Charlotte, which is a second early, which will stay in the ground into October if we want, but should be ready for harvesting around about the middle to end of July. Now I'm actually going to put in the first earlies first, and these can stay to chit a bit longer. And the advantage of chitting a new potato is that it does harvest earlier. And just stick them in the ground, and new potatoes can go in about a foot apart. Main crop a little bit wider. The closer they are together, the smaller the potatoes will be. It's exciting, this. Always this moment. You've got warm sun, warm soil, the first potatoes of the year going in. There's a ritual to that. You're connecting to something. I love it. Love it. Right, at that stage, they're ready to be covered over. And all I'm going to do is this. And you notice I'm heaping the soil up over the top of them, and this is to protect them from frost. So here's a tip. What I like to do is sprinkle some rocket, or radish will do, any vegetable that grows really fast, on top of the ridge. And it's just going to give a quick catch crop, and you're using the ground. So we'll just sprinkle in there like that. And before you need to earth it up, and before the potatoes start appearing, you will get a nice harvest of salad leaves. Now, Rachel has been to Wisley to explore the virtues of tea, but I suspect that it's not tea that she'll be wanting to drink.
I love this place. It's impossible to come here and not be inspired. keeping 60 acres looking this gorgeous isn't just an art, it's a science. And to keep ahead, they've been experimenting with a completely new kind of plant feed. It's called compost tea, and it's got the horticultural world buzzing. They first started using it in the propagation greenhouses. Sam Gallivan is responsible for raising the garden's new plants. Each year she raises thousands of seedlings. So this must be the hub of the operation.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah. It's getting a bit potent now.
Oh my goodness.
It's very strong.
Quite unpleasant. Real hubble-bubble going on.
It certainly is, yeah.
What is actually going on in here?
What we're doing is basically brewing microbes. We're not extracting any nutrients or anything. We are just creating a good atmosphere for the microbes to actually grow.
We're used to using feeds to increase nutrients.
Yeah.
Literally to feed the plant.
No.
And this is not doing that,
No,
is
it doesn't. We're not feeding. We're not actually feeding. What we're doing is we're brewing the microbes that will then go into the soil and just make a better environment for the roots, for the plants.
When we say microbes, what sort of thing are we talking about?
Good bacteria, good nematodes, good fungus. That's what we're actually looking at.
So what goes into that? What are the ingredients?
Right, OK, well, I've got some over here. This is a box of the ingredients that we've got here.
Right.
This is what we normally get supplied. It's something that we actually buy in.
Doesn't actually say, just says ingredient free, which is rather mysterious.
No, nobody really knows what is in here.
Intriguing,
It is a bit of a
isn't it?
mystery, yes.
What have we got in here?
Oh, you'll love that one.
Oh, that's terrible. That's fishy.
Fish,
That's
yes.
the fishy one.
That's the fishy one. That's the one that
Lovely.
actually creates the smell.
And a big bag here of compost.
That's where the actual microorganisms are.
And then all of that goes in here.
Goes into there, yes.
Lucy, this is one of my favourite places at Wisley. I always make a beeline for the Alpine House, and I hear that you're very keen on the compost tea.
I am, Rachel, yes. Out of the team of 5 of us, I use the compost tea the most.
Where do you see the differences?
Well, I've been using it on my hepatica collection, and they're woodland plants, and for me, I feel that they're much healthier. I can see they flower better, and when I repot them after flowering and in the early autumn, the roots are much more vigorous.
Do you know how it actually works?
To be honest with you, Rachel, I can't tell you exactly how it works. Leave that to the scientists. All I know is that it works for me, and here's the results.
Exactly, look at it. Wonderful. How do you think the composting might be working? What's happening there?
One of the theories is that the microbiologically actually competes with fungi and other problems that growers may experience. Compost tea is incredibly complicated. It's microbial active, so there could be benefits of the microbes. It's chemically active, so there could be benefits of the chemicals. It's incredibly difficult for science to actually pin down what it is that's having the beneficial effect.
No straightforward answers, are there?
It would be lovely to give a definitive answer, but it's incredibly complicated.
Now, the RHS very much sets the standards, and of course you guys know exactly what you're doing, so doesn't the fact that it's all a little bit muck and magic worry you?
It doesn't worry me, because in gardening there are so many things that we do that could be described as mucking magic. Adding manure to the soil, mulching, where's the evidence that it actually scientifically works? But as gardeners, we know it works. That's why we do those jobs in the garden, and we see the end product.
So in a way it's almost as if the horticulture's slightly ahead of the science.
It is, because then the science catches up and looks for how things are working.
Well, you know what, you're so enthusiastic about it. I'm definitely going to give it a try. Thank you very much indeed, it's been fascinating.
Well, good luck with it.
That is completely fascinating, and it does reinforce what I've felt for years, is that there is a magic in compost that is life. It's more than just fertilisation, it's actually triggering life, even though we can only guess at the complexity of it. However, getting hold of the compost tea kits is an expensive business. The cheapest that I could find was nearly £600. There are garden centres that are brewing it, so if you find one, you could go along and try it yourself. But there's nothing stopping any of us making as much garden compost as we can, and it is wonderful stuff. Nothing does the garden more good. Now my tomato production line is already running pretty well. I sowed my first seeds in February. This is San Marzano, which is the great Italian tomato that Italians love best for making sauce. From a packet of seed, and I've got plenty of seed left. The packet of seed probably cost me about £3.50, lots of seed in it. And now I've pricked some out into here, and the pricking out process, if you sow seed like that, is very easy. You just hold it by a leaf, tease one out, and you'll see plenty of root on that. Nice root system. By the way, never hold by the stem, always hold by the leaf, and then that can go into a plug or a pot and grow on. Now, I've only sown these early because they're going in a greenhouse. It's not too late to sow tomatoes at all, and if you're going to grow them outdoors, now is the perfect time. And new to garden centres this year are grafted tomatoes. I got these are grafted Baricchio, which I've not grown before. So you get 3 little plants like that. And the graft means that you have a different root to the top. And what you have is the roots of one with a stem grafted onto the top growth of another. So you get all the vigour of the roots and the variety and hopefully the taste of the top. That's the theory. But these plants cost over £3 each. A box like that is 10 quid or £9.99. Now for 10 quid I can buy 2 or 3 or 4 packets of seed, each one which will produce dozens of plants. However, if you do buy plants, it might be interesting to try them, and particularly if you grow them in a greenhouse in soil where you don't change the soil. I think there might be real advantages. So if you're going to give it a go, try buying some grafted plants and compare them to your other types, and I would be very interested to hear from you at the end of the season. As it is, I'll grow these on, compare them to the ones I grow from seed, and we'll see how they do.
As well as getting your tomatoes underway, there are plenty of other jobs to get on with this weekend. Growing clematis in the middle of a border adds height and drama. But like all climbers, they need to be given support right from the start. Bamboo canes will do the job, but I prefer to use hazel bean poles cut from a local coppice. Now is the best time to sow tender annuals. Sunflowers, cosmos, nicotiana, zinnia, they're all very quick and easy to grow. I like to sow large ones in modules and use a seed tray to scatter smaller seed. When you've sown them, move them somewhere warm and light and water them well.
You remember I forced my rhubarb a few weeks ago. Well, I guess this will be ready now. There you are. Look at that. Now, the thing about forced rhubarb is that it's sweeter than anything else. And remember, when you're picking rhubarb, you pull from the base, you don't cut it. Anyway, that will be delicious, and I'll be eating that this weekend. I'll see you here next Friday. Bye-bye.